good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to talk about CPRD's interventional research services. As I'm sure a few of the researchers are aware, so CPRD is the Clinical Practice Research Data Link. We sit within the MHRA, and we're a UK government health data research service supporting observational and interventional research with customers including academics, industry, and regulators. So we've been collecting primary care data from GP practices in the UK for over 30 years. And in terms of the observational work that we do, it's the number here in the blue bubble that's really key, over 65 million patient lives available. But for my team, in the interventional research team, we're really focused on the number in pink, which is the over 19 million currently registered patients at practices that are currently contributing data to CPRD. So this is the pool of patients that has the potential to be contacted for active research projects. In the data we have median 10 years follow-up, and for 25% of the database over 20 years follow-up. And we're currently collecting data from 1 in every 3 GP practices in the UK. So there's no mandate for practices to contribute to CPRD. It's a GP practice opt-in and patient opt-out model. The data is collected daily. It's broadly representative and currently around 25% UK population coverage. Next slide. Here we go. So all the information that CPRD collect is coded. We don't collect any free text, and we don't collect any patient identifiable information. So for the interventional research studies that I'll be describing, all of the work we do goes through the GP practice. But this slide describes some of the items that you can search on in the database. So drug exposures, diagnoses, referrals, demographic data, and lab tests are available. We also have linked data sets available through CPRD. I don't have that information, but it's all on the website. And also some algorithm-derived data, things like ethnicity and the pregnancy register are also available. So in terms of the interventional work and the service lines that we're offering, we've got 5 at the moment, and they're represented here just in terms of how the GP practice is supporting the research. So this can be quite helpful for the trialists and the practices to understand where the GP might act as investigator or where they just are supporting the recruitment activities. What I'll do, I think, today is mostly focus on the CPRD Sprint and Reach and Prove models, but there's a little bit more information about our cluster trial service and pragmatic trials as well. So CPRD Sprint, which stands for Speedy Patient Recruitment into Trials, is our service that's tailored to supporting recruitment into primarily phase 2 and phase 3 CTIMPs in the UK. So these start with a central search on our database of over 19 million currently registered patients, according to the protocol's inclusion-exclusion criteria. And this is conducted by the internal researchers, so my team of researchers at CPRD on the pseudonymized data. And we look at the results of that search, so a list of potentially eligible patients and their practices, and we take into consideration any site selection information that the sponsor has. And we approach the network of GP practices to gauge their interest in participating. And for practices that sign a work order with us for this work, they can then log on to our online study platform, where they see a list of pseudo IDs for the potentially eligible patients, and perform a review step here. Typically, we ask them about 1 to 5 questions about the patient's suitability for recruitment into a study. And then the GP will invite the patients using, typically it's a letter on practice-headed paper in the first instance, and then a reminder SMS. The patient receives the information that they need to get in touch with the study team directly. So that might be direct email, phone numbers, or it might be they're directed to a web page, a landing page for a trial site. There's a lot of flexibility there. And that's really where the sprint service finishes. The patient, in effect, self-refers into the trial or the trial screening. We also have the CPRD Reach service, which is a patient questionnaire service. So it looks similar to the sprint service, but it has a broader scope. It starts with a central search on the database according to inclusion and exclusion criteria. Again, my team will do this. However, if the sponsor or the research team has experience of CPRD data, we can also receive their list of potentially eligible patients and just perform a QA step at this point. But we look in at the site selection criteria as well, and then again, the GP practice will sign up and log on to the online study platform. They can invite the patients in a similar way. And then for these studies, it's also focused at qualitative work. So they might be inviting patients to a study or to interviews or a focus group, or they might be sending patients online questionnaires. And these can be hosted on the CPRD platform or externally on the client platform. But at the end, what we're able to do is provide a re-pseudonymized data set of questionnaire responses with the primary care data as well. We also have the CPRD Prove service, which is a GP practice questionnaire service. So this has no direct patient involvement, and it's really used to support observational work primarily, looking at cohort selection and potentially coding behaviors, things around choosing the population within the database. It's also used to support post-authorization safety studies. And so with this service, the researcher conducts the search on the database, looking for the cases of interest, and we approach the GP network in a similar way. The practice will log on to the platform and complete a series of questions, up to 10 questions regarding the study, and can answer and provide some supplementary information. Things like dates and lab results can be provided, no free text. And then we provide the researcher with a data set of the GP questionnaire responses to support their study. In terms of cluster trials, we offer a cluster trial service where the intervention might be at the practice level. The site selection works in a similar way, and practices are randomized to intervention or control, and then the intervention is deployed. Depending on the complexity of the intervention, CPRD may do this, or we might work with a CTU or another trial team regarding the interventions. But in a similar way, because the practices have been signed up through CPRD, we can provide the list of primary care outcomes at the end of the study. And we're also supporting pragmatic trials. These are 2 pragmatic trials that are currently recruiting in the UK. And what makes them pragmatic is they're very low intervention. They're randomized phase 4 trials in the primary care setting. The GP practice is the recruitment and investigator site. And after recruitment, there are no structured study visits. All of the outcomes are collected through the primary care data. So So that was just a whistle-stop tour. Happy to answer any questions, and there's also more information on the website.